who's alive, who's thriving. It is post-draft today, and we are going to be talking about the biggest fantasy football winners and losers of the NFL draft. We're going to bring some of the top risers to the tables, players whose situations, draft capital, or landing spots set them up for immediate or long-term success. We'll expect some bold predictions and some heated reactions, I'm guessing. Now we're going to start with the winners of the draft, and it could be a player that was actually drafted or a situation that a player is going to thrive because of that situation. Now we're going to start this off with one of our analysts, Schultzy. Schultzy, what is going on tonight, my man?
Hey, not much. Happy the draft is over. I mean, ton of work to put in, get ready for that, and we got landing spots, and we're fired up.
We are fired up, and we're ready to go. Now, tell us who you thought was your biggest winner out of the draft and why. What happened here?
Hey, I'm really pumped up for some Garrett Wilson here. Ever since this dude's coming to the league, he's just been lights out. I mean, the talent was always there, and he puts it on the field instantly, and it hasn't gone away. Receptions increased every single year. He peaked at 101 this past year. Seen 147 plus targets all 3 seasons, 1,000 yards plus. Also, last year was the wide receiver 10, and that includes the fairly early acquisition of Davante Adams, who is now going to be gone. Looking at the draft here, the Jets did pretty much nothing to add some competition here. He's going to be lining up with Allen Lazard, Josh Reynolds, Malachi Corley. The one guy they did add here, 4th rounder Arian Smith, who is people are talking about as one of the biggest reaches here, and he's just a speedster. So he's not going to be a guy who's ever going to come in and be stealing from Garrett, right? Another thing I love here, they brought in Tanner Engstrand, offensive coordinator from Detroit. He was a passing game coordinator. We've seen this dude work under Ben Johnson, and in the Ben Johnson Lions offense, we saw Amon-Ra just get completely fed. So I'm looking for the same thing here with Garrett Wilson. So give me some Garrett Wilson on the rise due to all those things there, and mainly just not adding really any competition for him.
Honestly, I love everything that you just said here. I mean, I think we've talked about it a couple times on the show where we're talking about Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields and how they played together at Ohio State. Then we're talking about DJ Moore and Justin Fields and DJ Moore's best fantasy season coming at the hands of Justin Fields. Now, some of that was with Tyson Bagent, but we don't have to talk about the small details. So I absolutely love it. I mean, Garrett Wilson, maybe the most targeted player in the history. I think he has actually earned the most targets in the history of the NFL through 3 seasons. And this is in 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. I mean, it hasn't quite hit the way we wanted it to, but I mean, he was on pace for 200 targets before Davante Adams came and ruined everything with Aaron Rodgers, and they started doing karate in the garage. So honestly, I think that there may not have been a bigger winner. I mean, some mocks had Tyler Warren going to the Jets. We know if they take him at 7 overall, that draft capital is going to ruin everything for Garrett Wilson again. So yeah, I totally agree. This was an unequivocal win for Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, it was a good win for Garrett Wilson there, and it's important to note that people, when we go into the draft, we're thinking about these situations and how they evolve, and situations could just change on a dime, and Garrett Wilson's did not. And I like this situation moving forward. Now, Chev, who's a player that you had your eye on and made some noise over or had some noise made for him in their direction?
Well. I'm glad you asked that, Grindberg, because it's a guy that I don't know. I feel like I'm the old man screaming at clouds. I've been saying this. James Conner had his career high in games played, touches, yards, everything. And he's going into his age 30 season. And Trey Benson's just sitting back there waiting in the wings, just a young, supple lad, just waiting to take over. And what we know is that James Conner is going to miss typically 3 to 4 games a year. So we're due for that regression to come back. And coming out of this weekend, they didn't add anyone of significance to the backfield. So 2024 third round pick Trey Benson has no competition, and he's got a clear pathway. He averaged 4.6 yards a carry, 350 total yards, 1 touchdown, 10 yards a catch. 4.6 yards a carry. So I repeated myself because I want you to understand that people thought that he sucked because he couldn't beat out James Conner. James Conner beat cancer, okay? All right? That's not a man that's going to cede his job to some young pup fresh out of college. So Trey Benson doesn't suck, but he also has a clear path to RB1. So if you're going 0 RB, I don't think that there's a better candidate to go with than Trey Benson this year. And they didn't, again, third round pick this year. They didn't add anyone of significance. So my biggest winner here is Trey Benson. Best Ball Mania 5 is open now. So he should be one of your targets. He's in the 9th round of startups most of the time, unless, I'm in the startup and I take him in the 8th or the 7th or whatever round I took him in the draft we were in together, Jeremiah. But yeah, Trey Benson for me. I won't hold everybody hostage on that. But yeah, I love Trey Benson a lot. Size speed freak. He's my biggest winner.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. I was a big Trey Benson guy last year. If you remember some of my pregame shows here prior to the season, I really had a lot of investment in Trey Benson in Dynasty, and I still do. Obviously, I was holding out for, an injury to James Conner, but I think, moving into this year, gotta like where we see Trey Benson's headed. He's got that draft capital from last year, 3rd round draft capital. That's signaling they have confidence in his potential to be a key contributor in that backfield. They didn't select a running back like you mentioned. In Arizona, they were being rumored to be in the rumor mill for a running back. James Conner's contract situation entering his final year. Benson's got a clear path to becoming the team's lead back soon. He's got an impressive athletic profile, like you mentioned, a 4.39 40-yard dash. He's got power in his game. He's got great, strong college production over his last 2 years at Florida State. Remember, 1,800 rushing yards, 23 touchdowns. He's got the ability to produce at a high level, and the evolution of that offense, Kyler Murray returns. He's got new weapons added, and I think Trey Benson's going to carve himself out a bigger role. So I really like where your head's at there, Chev. Now, folks, I was remiss. What's up, bud?
A sneaky winner as well. I know Chev didn't necessarily want to mention it, but also, and shout out to Bigz here, Michael Carter lives to see another day, 3rd on that depth chart. And sneakily enough, the Cardinals don't add any wide receivers opposite of Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson. So a little note there on the Cardinals. Keep going, Mike.
I love it, man. And if you guys are liking our content here, be sure to follow us on the Fantasy Football Advice Network on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. But there's also a key factor here that we haven't mentioned yet, and that is our website. It is the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Whether you are a football fan, a basketball fan, baseball, and we're going to be growing in the next couple of seasons, hockey and golf. Schultzy, let's get our fan base here a little sneak peek of what we're talking about here.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
Absolutely. Head there. We got a great community there. And as the off season heats up, so does the chat on our website. So, you're going to have like-minded people in that chat group talking to content creators like myself, like Chev, like Schultzy, like Coach. All of us are bringing you A+ material here to help you guys win your fantasy football leagues. Now, let's get into my biggest winner here. And I know I stole the show sheet ahead of everybody, and a couple of my, mates here have this guy circled as well. And I'm talking about none other than RJ Harvey, who just didn't get drafted. He landed in the perfect spot for me with the Denver Broncos, and his situation immediately positions him as one of the biggest winners of the draft. Sean Payton, he's built a reputation for squeezing fantasy production out of his backfield, even if it's not always the most predictable way. While some fantasy managers might be wary of Payton's committee approach, Harvey's skill set, size, and versatility put him in a unique position to thrive in this system. He may not be a traditional bell cow, but like Alvin Kamara or a bigger version of Reggie Bush, Harvey's ability to make plays in both the running and passing game makes his potential fantasy a gold mine. A 4.4 40-yard dash. Harvey's speed ranks 4th among the running backs at the combine. 54 explosive runs in 2024. He averaged 6.8 yards per carry in his final season in college, 1,577 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns last year. Incredible stuff here. Top 10 finish in both vertical and broad jumps. His top end speed was 22.93 miles per hour, and you give him a situation where he's ready to thrive and potentially that joker role. I'm really going all out here on RJ Harvey. I'm aggressively ranking him right now as my RB3 in this class. He's catapulted ahead of some of the guys here, and just Genty and Hampton right now are only guys standing in his way for me in this class at this stage, based off of landing spot and the prolificness of their offense. Because the other guys that I'm looking at, like Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins, Trey Henderson, they're going into some clouded backfields as well, but their offense are going to not be as good as what I'm looking for in Denver, who's got a young up-and-coming quarterback that has been proven himself, and now we're looking at RJ Harvey being in a powerhouse workhorse role, and I'm all about it. So, folks, it's bold, but I'm not the only one in this space that probably thinks that. So, anybody else here?
Yeah, RJ Harvey, I took him, the startup that we were in together, Chev, round 11, and I had somebody telling me about, Jordan James is so much better, blah, 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 blah. And, round 11 looks beautiful right now from a dynasty startup perspective. RJ Harvey, if you take a look at Javonte Williams, 70 targets last year for Denver, just was not efficient. So we always plugged in. We did this exercise. Travion Henderson, Amarian Hampton, any running back that you put in that you were bullish on, you love for the Denver Broncos. Now we take RJ Harvey, who was 6 through 10, that second tier, and he gets catapulted just ahead of Caleb Johnson. So great pick for the Denver Broncos. Round 2 draft capital. Talk about all the time. Jump, cut, and run. Knows how to just turn upfield. What could be a small criticism that could go Harvey's way, his tendency to bounce outside. A lot of running backs have that issue. That can be something that's just developed out of him and just worked on through Sean Payton. So I'm looking at just a juiced up Javonte Williams, what we wanted Javonte Williams to be in Denver. You're getting much more efficiency from a younger RJ Harvey. Spare me the age 24. Oh, well, he's going to be 28, 29. Who cares? The next 4 years, like, you got a lot of life. I mean, I'll be in my 40s by then, all right? So I'm really not worried about what's happening in 4 years when the next 4 years are going to be incredible. There'll be another presidential election. There's so much time between now and that thought of, like, what's going to happen. People live and die by winning now, playing for this year. There's people who just cut on leagues within the first 3 years. Like, my God, live in the present and get yourself some RJ Harvey. I love that call, Mike. Great winner there. What do you think, Chev?
I'm hearing people say that RJ Harvey could be one of the biggest steals of the draft. I mean, he was in the back of the second round, and now he's all the way. He's gone at the 112 in like a couple leagues that I'm in. So I would still take Caleb Johnson. I think Caleb Johnson's the best running back. I mean, he goes to the Steelers. So I think Caleb Johnson maybe, but RJ Harvey's good too.
All right, then. I love it. Yeah, I know. Whoever was talking about Jordan James, we got to get that guy in one of our leagues because, when you
we should have him as a
sucker at the table in the first 5 minutes, you might be the sucker, and maybe we got to invite that sucker onto our train.
Hey, isn't it so validating, like going through this scouting process? Like Chev, you were like OG RJ Harvey guy. Is it so validating for when a team like, pops him in the draft that early, but then at the same time like infuriating because now your value dude is just gone.
Yeah. I mean, like I got my first taste of it. No Diddy when Jeremiah took him in the 11th round, and I was like, "Hey, man, well, that's a nice RJ Harvey you got there. What do you want for it?" And he's like, "Nothing."
What's Robert De Niro do?
You talking to me? You talking to me?
You talking to me?
So yeah, he wouldn't even entertain. So he took RJ Harvey and Brashard Smith, and I was like, "This is a personal attack."
Yo, that was me.
Yeah, that guy right there. So
double tap, boop, boop.
Yeah, RJ Harvey, Brashard Smith. It was like that one mock draft we did where Mike drafted my entire team. It was super cool. Really, really enjoyed that a whole bunch. But yeah, man, I just, as someone who loves RJ Harvey and Brashard Smith, those are like my two estranged children. And I am old enough to be their fodder. Ironically enough, I mean, this is super validating. I mean, I knew what I saw. I mean, Coach alluded to it. He does have some opportunities in terms of his ability, like him hitting the hole instead of trying to bounce everything and outrun everybody. But the cool thing is he can outrun a lot of people. So, I mean, landing in this landing spot, the Denver Broncos running backs caught 81 passes between Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Javonte Williams. And so we're looking at a guy with more ability than all three of those guys combined in a Sean Payton offense. So I understand why everybody's so excited. I wish they would have added someone else just to kind of muddy this up a little bit so that everyone doesn't have such a clear path to saying, oh, like Broncos running back, Sean Payton running back. We need to have that. So yeah, it's cool to see it. Like, hey, I call myself a legendary ball knower. That was a legendary call.
Yep.
It don't always work out like that, but when it does, it feels really good. And that's all I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about the things that I miss.
We don't miss much anyway, so that's the problem.
That's fair.
All right, who's next up on the docket here?
Hey, we've got a winner, CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And this works out, funny enough, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel get added in the rookie draft that we're in, Mike. 207, 208, back-to-back. This person, it's the same person. They went Higgins and Jalen Noel. And CJ Stroud, absolute winner. He gets some help on the offensive line with Ursary in round 2. Remember that you lost Tunsil. That was a big issue there. And you lose Tank Dell. You lose Stephon Diggs. Last year, it was supposed to be just a murderer's row of offensive output. So much fell apart. That's why you actually have to go out and play the games. But now, reloaded, Jaden Higgins, another archetype X player, opposite of Nico Collins. Win on the boundaries, playing big, just another big target, red zone. There's going to be options for CJ Stroud. Jalen Noel can carve things up over the middle. Don't forget about Christian Kirk. So huge winner. And one of my guys that I really love, Woody Marks. I remember I took him in one of our mock drafts. Through the process, we had talked the idea of maybe a Brashard Smith going to the Texans, maybe a Basil Tootin going to the Texans, who could be somebody to join Joe Mixon. Woody Marks is a perfect complement, can take over the third down role, maybe some of that 2-minute offense, that hurry-up offense, and then there's an opportunity for more to be had. Joe Mixon really struggled at the end of the season last year, so he gets Woody Marks. How can you complain when you end up getting 2 more rookie wide receivers? They play different roles. You've got Nico Collins coming back nice and strong. After having lost Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, it's just a reload, and they get the boost back on the offensive line. It's kind of like Dumb and Dumber. Just when I thought you couldn't get any worse, you go ahead and totally redeem yourself. That's what the Texans have done. And now in Dynasty, you're going to have to argue between Stroud and Love. They kind of fell back from last season. I think this catapults CJ Stroud much further up. And we talked about this on the Pulse, where we were talking about how much of a floor CJ Stroud was starting to develop, and it was just getting lower and lower for him in the dynasty ranks. And I remember myself, I remember Chev, basically the people who are on this show saying, I smell a buy low. It sounds disgusting, but it's something that you should have applied and done. Take, for example, Justin Herbert last year. It was disgusting. It wasn't palatable. But if you bought Justin Herbert last year when Greg Roman offense, all they're going to do is run. If you bought low, you are sitting pretty, be it with the Lab McConkey, go Trey Harris, Marion Hampton, and Najee Harris in the backfield to bail out. It's just a tremendous setup now for CJ Stroud and the Texans. And then there's a backdoor winner as well with the Chargers, Justin Herbert. But my winner, my riser, however you want coming from the draft, it's got to be the pairing with CJ Stroud. Texans got to put the word out, back up.
Yeah, dude, I can't argue with any of that. And it's painful as a Jaguars fan, man. I was definitely down on him last year. For a guy who's not going to go out there and rush the ball, like you need him to just light it up through the air week after week. And looking at his rookie season, like he passed for 3+ touchdowns only a small handful of times. Like there were some things that concerned me. But you mentioned the value dip, and the value was there. But heading into this year, yeah, you can't deny these weapons. God, I love both of these guys, and I hate so much that they went to the Texans. The two fit together so well. They're going to fit together with Nico even better. Dude, this is just painful for me. The big question here is the offensive line. Stroud took 52 sacks last year, but now that, even with Kirk coming in and Noel, like bona fide slot dudes that you can get the ball to quickly.
Woody Marks.
Right.
Never Woody Marks.
Always Woody. Stay Woody.
Doing some stuff for the rookie guide. I had both of these Iowa State receivers, and writing my fantasy outlooks for them. You can't fail to mention that this is a muddied room, right? Like you've got Collins, Higgins, Noel, and then you got Kirk for probably a year here. Like this is going to get murky week to week sometimes. The one place it doesn't get murky at is the dude throwing him the ball.
Yes.
So it's a great call. I can't argue with it as much as I hate to say it.
Well,
yeah, because you've really got Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay, rising tide lifts all boats. Justin Herbert, same thing. And now we're seeing that train leave the station for CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans.
Well, let's uncover this a little bit more, because I'm sure our viewers are really concerned about that wide receiver room in Houston, and a lot of question marks now, because we have that alpha in Nico Collins. He's proven to be that, but he's proven to also not be on the field all the time either. So maybe that backup with Jaden Higgins. I think that, I had a lot of aspirations for Jaden Higgins headed into this year before the draft, and I think this draft landing spot hurts his draft capital quite a bit in Dynasty for me, because of that Nico Collins comparison playing the outside role. I think Jalen Noel gets the really good landing spot here, because they're looking for that inside slot role. He could play power slot, and he's very good in the intermediate routes. He's a ball hog. He can, get those contested catches too. And I think that he's going to slot into that Tank Dell role and be very, very good for CJ Stroud as a relief valve for him. And I think out of the two guys, I had him very closely ranked before the draft, with Higgins slightly ahead because of his, some of the metrics that I look at, his yards per route run and that kind of stuff. It kind of flew off the page here for me. But Jalen Noel now coming in with that landing spot, connected with CJ Stroud, who's going to, make a guy like Tank Dell very relevant in his rookie year. I could see a very close, similar thing happening with Jalen Noel, and Jalen Noel can really get those yak yards too. So I see this being the more beneficial spot for him. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I'll start with you, Schultzy, because you were the guy that kind of broke those two down for the rookie guide. And what are your thoughts on these landing spots?
Yeah, I think the Tank Dell role is a big factor here. And then, like I mentioned, with the bad offensive line, being able to dump it off to Nolan space here is probably going to be very helpful. I'm willing to take my chance on either of these dudes in a rookie draft. Like the talent is just so strong with both guys that you can convince me either one is going to step up and be the T. Higgins to Jamar here. Like I can't talk anyone out of drafting either of them in rookie drafts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's strong. And you know I love Jaden Higgins a lot. But to your point, I think that this just means that CJ Stroud's going to bomb it everywhere this year. I mean, we could have a post-hype breakout coming. I mean, he was QB 11 his rookie year, and then last year he disappointed because they couldn't block. They couldn't block. Their offensive line was basically a wet paper bag. And so this year they get Ursery, they get the weapons, and now we have two guys that we all really, really enjoyed and really liked. I mean, Jalen Noel's ridiculously athletic. So, and then so is Jaden Higgins, and he's 215 pounds. So you've got two Nico clones. Well, we hope they play Jaden Higgins is a Nico reskin, and Jalen Noel is, what Christian Kirk was when he was healthy 4 or 5 years ago at bare minimum, I think. So I think that this is going to be wheels up for a Houston offense. As a Titans fan, this is really, really upsetting to see. All the teams in the division besides the Colts got better. And so, not great for my own personal thing, but for fantasy, it's going to be awesome. So, yeah, I'm right there with you, Schultzy.
Hey, when you said Ursery, I was just like, please say Ursher. Like, just drop Ursher. He had Ursery. Something to think about, just a little mental exercise, and it won't necessarily help us year one in Dynasty, but in best ball, think of it was Nico, Diggs, and Dell all compressed ADP in those single-digit, early to mid-single-digit rounds. Now you're going to have the beauty of you got to pay up for Nico Collins in round one, sure, in best ball. But then Higgins, Jalen Noel, Kurt, they'll be spread all apart to where you'll be able to get different pieces of this offense. And, of course, CJ Stroud is not going to necessarily go back up to where he was drafted last year because the price baked up way too much. There's been a dip for him. Maybe he rises one round off of this bullish outcome from the draft. But you're not going to have to pay the hefty price you did last year. And ironically, I think you're going to get better offensive output with all these spread out, cheaper ADPs for collectively the Houston Texans in 2025.
Really like that call. Now, before we get into the losers of the draft, I want to just revert people to our Fantasy Sports Advice Network merch shop that is connected to our fan page, where I'm going to surprise my co-host here with some news that we've just updated the merch shop and added a bunch of the Dynasty Pulse merch gear to it. So now you can get hats, hoodies, and t-shirts, all with the Dynasty Pulse logo, and it's branded by the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. So be sure to head down to the merch shop and check out our new gear there, because it's fly. And there's much other stuff you can check out there, from beer cozies to coasters to pens and whatnot. You'll see it all there. So check it all out at the Fantasy Sports Advice Network merch shop. Now let's get into our losers of the draft, and let's start it off with you, Schultzy. Not that saying that you're a loser in any way, but you're the first one on the docket here, so let's go with that.
Just the first loser to talk. Hey, man, look, for me, it's going to be Cole Kmet. I mean, it was like, I don't know, handful of weeks ago, we were pumping Cole Kmet on this program. Like, this guy's, he's ready to pop, and I'm out, all right? They go ahead and draft Colson Loveland there at number 10, and the big thing here is that's Ben Johnson's dude. Like, Ben Johnson has no ties to Cole Kmet, and he went out and surprised everyone, took Loveland. One thing I've been hearing a ton as far as the Cole Kmet situation goes is, hey, the Lions just ran 2 tight ends on the field all the time. They're not wrong. They were third in the league in 12 personnel at 32.2%. But if you dig down deeper, you're going to find who that number 2 tight end was, and it's Brock Wright. And in 2024, he caught 13 passes for 100 yards. 2023, he caught 13 passes for 91 yards. 2022, he caught 18 passes for 216 yards. Is Cole Kmet significantly more talented? Absolutely. But because the Lions ran 12 personnel is not just you can't just instantly be like, well, Cole Kmet's going to get a bunch of targets. Here are some dudes on the Lions offense over the past couple of years, past 3 seasons, who have finished ahead of Brock Wright in receiving. Josh Reynolds, the ghost of DJ Chark, Khalif Raymond, Tim Patrick, David Montgomery twice. And you look at that list, that's just a bunch of dudes. I mean, obviously Monty's a good player, but he's the second running back still out here catching, being more productive in the passing game than the second tight end on the team. Significantly less talented list of guys than what the Bears pass catchers currently look like, with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, now Luther Burden, and then obviously Colston Loveland. I just can't get on board here, man. Unless he's traded, I'm pretty out in Dynasty. Guys I like over him right now: Cade Otton, Jatavian Sanders, Brenton Strange, Chig, Ben Sinnott. I would take any of those dudes over Cole Kmet moving forward.
Yeah. Listen, I would want to give some sort of, we were just on the show, it feels like yesterday, talking about tight ends and how it could work out for Cole Kmet with Andrew Cooper. And we were hopeful. And then Ben Johnson just punted Baxter off of a bridge and told us that we can't have nice things anymore. So Cole Kmet, even though he has, a $50 million contract, the Bears can get out from that contract for $3.2 million in dead cap money after this year. So he's likely going to find a new destination. Colston Loveland is the new hotness, and we can't count on Cole Kmet anymore. Now, unless he gets a great landing spot, if Dallas for some reason trades for him and then jettisons Turd Ferguson into the upside down, then we might be back in business. But as of right now, we're putting dirt on Cole Kmet, and we're putting smut on his name until the foreseeable future, because Colston Loveland is the future.
Absolutely. Great call.
Great call. There. Yeah. He's fading like a fader. So what do you got there, Chev? Who's your biggest loser?
Najee Harris. Now, I've been telling you guys to sell Najee Harris for any second that you could possibly get for as long as I can remember. And now, if you didn't sell him, now you're looking at him being in a 1-year timeshare where he's probably going to get, he's going to get the backwash or the workload for the Chargers. Now, even if they split it up, there is a possibility that they run the ball as many times as they did last year, which is 463 times. So they ran the ball quite a bit last year. I guess but the thing about Jim Harbaugh is he does not waste first-round picks on people that can't play. So even though Najee has the connection with Jim Harbaugh did everything he could to get him to the University of Michigan. They rolled out the red carpet and gave him a $9.5 million deal, $5.5 million guaranteed. That doesn't mean anything. They're telling us the story of what they want to do. This is going to be a grounded pound offense, and Amarion Hampton is explosive. He's 220 pounds. He ran a 4.46 at the combine, unbelievable RAS score. And this just doesn't, it's the opposite of Najee Harris. He's basically like Hassan Haskins, but, make it a first round pick. So I'm really, really, really sad for anybody who didn't sell Najee Harris when they could have gotten a second. And if you bought him for a third, that feels dirty now too. So I apologize for that. Well, actually, I apologize for nothing. I'm a green dude with an attitude, as you can see here. So I'm Najee Harris is the biggest loser, and I will accept no further questions at this time.
Yeah, people were steaming him up quite a bit. They were salvaging their shares of him when they saw him kind of fade off over the last 2 years. And, with that landing spot he had and that contract, people were really optimistic about it. And obviously, Amarion Hampton is just a better version of Najee Harris, more explosive, more versatile. He's got better agility, man. He's just more efficient as a runner. You give him, a couple games, he's going to prove himself. And Najee Harris is just going to be a guy that's going to take a breather off the odd time. Maybe at the beginning of the year, he might steal some red zone work and some stuff until, Harbaugh realizes how, important Omarion Hampton is to that team. I mean, they traded and got up in the first for Hampton, right? I mean, they did a lot for him. That's huge draft capital they invested in a guy. So that's telling a story here right now.
Hey, all you need to know about Najee Harris, he's a bond, where Omarion Hampton is an absolute growth stock. What is Najee Harris good for? Playing 17 games a year and averaging 4 yards per carry. Really nothing special. The one bullish argument that you could have made a case for that would be the hopium, right? Would be a better offensive line by the Chargers who can help generate more yards created per carry for Najee Harris. But again, Hampton is souped up. He's the guy you want, and he's going to be able to wear down defenses. Year one, you're going to get some goodness out of Najee Harris. Better in best ball, absolutely. In the range of outcomes, is it possible that Najee Harris could win you a league? Sure. But that would just have to be from Omarion Hampton, injury attrition. An opportunity will be there for Omarion Hampton. There will be some frustrating moments where Najee Harris does take, just because he was brought in for 1 year, $10 million. He's going to be in there, involved more than, let's say, Kamani Vidal, right? People lost themselves over Kamani Vidal. They're absolutely going to be over the moon for Omarion Hampton. And it's wonderful because you've got Janty, Hampton's at 1B, and post-NFL draft, Hampton is really holding up to that 1B. I would just say that maybe RJ Harvey is going to push into that 1B conversation, 1C conversation, even higher than possibly Travion Henderson. But on this losing side, ebb and flow, great call for Najee Harris being the loser. We love what Omarion Hampton has done. It's not necessarily dead for Najee Harris, but it's trending in that direction. And like you say, we're at least digging the shovel for 2026.
It's not necessarily dead, but it sure ain't good.
Well, what do we call it? The dead cat bounce?
Yes.
So if we get some sort of positive propaganda on Najee Harris, you take that dead cat and you put it off the bridge with Baxter, okay?
Yeah, month one, let's say he's got 6 touchdowns and he's running pure on the touchdown equity, right? Where it's David Montgomery sniping Jahmyr Gibbs his rookie season, those first 6 weeks. Hey, try and have at it there. But yeah, that any dead cat bounce that you can get. This is not to be confused with catching a falling knife, Chev.
That is, I have confused those before. I can confirm.
Poor Baxter. He's taking a beating tonight. Well,
Mike, who's a loser? Tell us about a loser.
A loser that took a beating from me and probably the community here on its own is Jerome Ford. And, he had a lot of doubt headed into the draft. Well, if Cleveland did anything, they solidified one thing, is that they wanted an upgrade at running back when they selected Quinshon Judkins with the 36th pick overall. And then 2 rounds later in the 4th went and got Dylan Sampson, who's, a complimentary back to Judkins. So now where does that leave Ford? He leaves him in jeopardy. I don't think he's going to lead the backfield. He may be projected right now as the number 1 guy, but Cleveland made it, and the writing is on the wall for Ford in Cleveland. Judkins, with the high draft capital, impressive skill set, he's going to likely take over that primary back role right out of the gate, and Sampson's selection further complicates his path for Ford for significant fantasy relevance. Ford may still hold some, nominal position atop the depth chart for now, but unless something, drastically changes, he's facing a reduced role. I'm hearing rumblings about him potentially being traded because, he's had a pretty decent career with Cleveland the last 2 seasons, 1,400 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns, decent production. He averaged 4.5 yards per carry in 2023, but Judkins is clearly the standout here, and Sampson is going to do a really good job of complementing Judkins, hard knock type of running. So Ford's final year of his rookie deal means Cleveland is gonna unlikely sign him and commit to him long-term with what they showed right now. And he's going to be in a reduced role. So his future is definitely uncertain for 2025 unless he gets traded. Jerome Ford's dynasty outlook has completely plummeted, and the Browns draft has shown that they are got other guys in mind, and that's Judkins and Sampson. What do you guys think about that there, Coach?
Hey, Judkins already off the rip in round 2 versus Ford. Hey, it's Judkins season, right? 70%, 30% or higher as our sentiments there. Then you bring in Dylan Sampson. Had Dylan Sampson come along in the 4th round without any running back like Quinshon Judkins, you're already talking about a 50-50 dynamic right there off the rip with Jerome Ford. So Jerome Ford, let's just say he's 2 A and B with Dylan Sampson at best. It's Quinshon Judkins' show. Our buddy Dynasty Dustin mentioned he likes this as a Chubb and Hunt kind of combo with Judkins and Sampson. I liken it to it's more spruced up and there's a little more energy. Remember when Kareem Hunt came over to the Browns, he wasn't quite the Chiefs Kareem Hunt. He wasn't past his prime, but you got a lot of great usage out of the Chubb Hunt duo. I think you can replicate that, especially in the AFC North where you need it. And I really love the Quinshon Judkins pick combined with Dylan Sampson. There's double indemnity, double insurability in the fact that the Browns are stacking up whoever they're going to have at quarterback. Hey, we can run the rock. If you're going to have trouble with Joe Flacco not running pure enough on passing and turning into just a 40-year-old version of Jameis Winston, or you pass it over to Dylan Gabriel. I don't know how that works. Shedeur Sanders there, of course. How do you jumble all that, unscramble it? Hey, you're going to just hand the rock off. Jerome Ford does not figure to be in those plans. So if you didn't get out on Jerome Ford, as Chev had said, if there can be any dead count bounce as far as attrition, injury to Sampson, Judkins, and Jerome Ford plays any role, send him for any heartbeat that you can. But I don't think you can get much more than a 4th round rookie pick. And even then, people like taking stabs at different players late in the draft. There's that rookie fever, that euphoria. So great call on Jerome Ford being a big loser there. We kind of saw it coming. We thought it was going to be somebody like Caleb Johnson, but I can't be mad at all about QJ and Dylan Sampson. What do you think, Chev?
I mean, obviously, I've been in the cement aisle, banging the drums for Mr. Quinshon Judkins for quite some time. So, one, it's surprising to see him get the capital to go ahead of Travion Henderson, his teammate, that people seem to. I mean, he was a lot of people's RB2. Quinshon's been my RB3 throughout this whole deal. So I was really excited to see that. Then on top of the fact that that's just a vacuum of opportunity. And he comps so closely to me to the guy that they just let go in Nick Chubb. Now, will he become Nick Chubb? We don't know. But he's going to get an opportunity to do so. The draft capital and the opportunity portend.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was for you, Bigz. So those all allude to the fact that Quinshon Judkins is going to be the man in Cleveland. Now, what that looks like with no one that can throw meaningful forward passes, or someone, just people that haven't thrown forward passes, or they're really old and not very good at throwing forward passes anymore. I'm talking about the quarterback. If you guys haven't caught that, caught the drift there. I mean, we're not counting on Dylan Gabriel. We're not counting on Shedeur Sanders. If you're counting on Kenny Pickett, he can't hold a BK broiler by himself. And Joe Flacco is almost 61 years old. So the only question has nothing to do with Quinshon Judkins or Jerome Ford. It's just, what does that offensive ecosystem actually mean? They average 15.2. I know you guys saw during the draft, they were talking about Cleveland's points per game. They averaged 15.2 points per game, which is dead last in the NFL. They were 4th to last in rushing last year with 94 rushing yards a game, and they only had 8 rushing touchdowns. Quinshon Judkins is a tone setter, and he can make up for a lot of that. But I want to temper my expectations, and maybe I'll just hang out on the fringes of the cement aisle until I figure out what they're doing at quarterback, because it's right now, this is perfect landing spot for opportunity, but horrible landing spot for like actually scoring points, which make it hard to score fantasy points if you're not scoring actual points.
Fair enough. Now, who's going to end the show off with their last loser here? And that's you there, Coach. Who do you got there on your agenda that you don't really want to have on your lineup anymore?
Well, it's not so much that I don't want to have him in Dynasty, but the biggest Lahu Zahur is Dak Prescott for the Cowboys. The Cowboys don't come away with a receiver. We have projected Matthew Golden. We have projected Jerome McMillan. Now, it just came out recently that Ted McMillan was on the Cowboys' radar. Granted, the Panthers went and made sure that did not happen. Plans changed, but we didn't even get a viable running back sent their way. What was it? It was Phil Maffa in round 7, and then Jaden Blue in round 5. They just aren't it. So the ghosts of Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders will endure for the 2025 season. And I really think things are just being set up where the Cowboys are being stripped down of what they were just a few years ago when they were a solid contender. It really just goes to show how much of a blown opportunity that Green Bay game where they lost to Green Bay at home was. And you can't look back. You can't get it back. It goes away very quickly. And the Cowboys are on a downhill slide. The thing about Dak Prescott, he's 2 years removed from being QB4 in fantasy points per game. Here's some numbers from 2023. First in passing touchdowns with 36. He was first in red zone attempts, money throws, fourth in pass attempts, third in passing yards with over 4,500 yards. Dak Prescott is absolutely a baller. He's still somebody you want as your second quarterback in Dynasty startups, and you can get him at that value because we're 2 years removed from all of that. But my problem is, for setting him up for the future, we're just one CeeDee Lamb injury away from that offense absolutely being cooked. Now, we hear today Amari Cooper, who never should have left for the price point that he left to the Cleveland Browns. What was a fifth-round pick? I mean, what do they think that is? Like, Shador Sanders. But this is just terrible for the Cowboys. It's a bad setup, and the way the narrative runs in Dallas, Jerry Jones is just going to give you the bad ingredients, and Dak Prescott's going to be the one wearing the consequences. He's going to be the face of this downfall, and I think it's absolutely not right by him. What is he, like a teacher? Like teachers are given terrible tools to do their job, and then they get blamed for so many things in society. So a little analogy there. I feel like Dak Prescott is being set up and is going to get got in 2025. It'll be good for fantasy, but you watch real NFL, things will fall apart, and it's a very fickle, fine line between CeeDee Lamb getting hurt and that offense being absolutely cooked. Jake Ferguson, fun, good tight end. He can get you some requisite top 5 weeks here and there. But no, it's very bad. It may be curtains for the Dallas Cowboys for their competitive nature heading into 2025. So very bearish signal on Dak Prescott for what he's going to have to burden and bear in 2025.
It's funny because when I first saw Dak Prescott on here, I was ready to hit you with a couple counterpoints. Like, hey, but you already hit me with my own counterpoints. Like, I think he's still going to have a solid year. Like, he's still going to have good value in your dynasty drafts and stuff. But you hit it nail on the head that they did nothing to help this guy out. Like, obviously, CeeDee Lamb is that guy, and he's going to go out and dominate again. But we are seriously looking at an offense where they're going to start Jalen Tolbert, who 3 years into his career has not even accumulated 1,000 yards over 3 seasons, right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and on top of that, the other starting receiver here, when we're trotting 3 guys out here, is Jonathan Mingo. Like, this is absolutely wild work from Jerry Jones here. And the other thing you hit here is, I was going to mention, if anything happens to CD, it's over. Yeah. And you touched on that one too. And then finally for me on Dak, Jerry went and traded for Joe Milton, right? I'm not saying Joe Milton should play. I'm not saying he's good, but Jerry traded for him. And if anything starts going south for Dak, I could see him putting a little bit of pressure on that situation.
It's crazy. And like society, on teachers, Jerry Jones will put pressure on somebody like Dak Prescott. And then, oh, wait, well, how could this happen?
You got anything quickly to add to that, Chev?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the responsibility, the brunt of responsibility you bear when you're making $60 million a year. Like, you have to make chicken salad out of chicken scraps sometimes, and
good.
That's not
good.
That's not, he has to be able to do that. I mean, now, could they have done a little bit more in terms of what they added to the running back room? Yes. Could they have added someone besides extending Kevontae Turpin and Jalen Tolbert, who didn't produce anything for the first 2 years of his career and just barely feigned a semblance of relevance this year? Absolutely. But again, you paid a guy $60 million, and now you got to pay Micah Parsons to, be a part-time football player and full-time podcaster. So I don't know how they could do much more outside of, Clayton Adams being the run game whisperer and bringing the success that he brought from Arizona to the Dallas Cowboys to make that work. I'm not saying that it's going to work, but I don't really see a path with the lack of real weapons. Unless Kevontae Turpin is Tyreek Hill 2.0, there's no way that this is going to work the way that we want it to work. And, I bought Dak Prescott at a dip in a lot of different places, but I just don't like the idea of what they're offering in terms of, their ability to field a competent offense. Like, I don't have any confidence in their weapons outside of CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, guys, Fade and Dak here at the end of the show. We've got our winners or losers of the draft in 2025, guys. Great timing here. We wrapped up the Dynasty Pulse on a great timing here. Awesome show from Schultzy. We've got Coach. We've got Chev, missing our big guy, Bigz. He'll be back next time.
We love you, Bigz.
We miss you, Bigz. He's just getting back from the draft. He's got a little jet lag and he's got to work tonight. So unfortunately, he wasn't with us. But everybody here on the Dynasty Pulse, we want to thank everybody from showing up. Remember to check us all out on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, also on the Undroppables Network. Our stuff is, floating around. Keep checking us out there. And we'll see you next time, folks, on the Dynasty Pulse. Peace out.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.